All right, so just a quick intro for the video. This is the Iowa Genealogical Society's Ancestry Special Interest Group for July. And I hope everybody got the handout, but today we're going to start with what's new on the site. And they've rolled out, I don't know if you guys have played with it, but they are rolling out some document transcription tool so that you can upload your family journals or letters and that are handwritten, and their transcription tool will transcribe it for you. So I'm going to start with opening that up. I gave you the link to the article about it, so you guys can open that up. Just some quick notes. Let me share my screen. That would probably make things a little easier for you. Get you into Ancestry. So this is part of the gallery memory space within Ancestry. So you have to upload it as an image. So they don't currently support PDFs. They tease that maybe they'll do that in the future. I wouldn't hold your breath. So what they're looking for are JPEG or PNG formats, and it can be, and it has to be uploaded to a public tree. So if your tree is private, my understanding is that this tool will not be available to you. So you might want to switch your tree to public, get the transcription, and then switch it back if you want to take advantage of it. Now there are other tools that you can use for document transcription, so that you have choices in this space. A lot of the AI tools will do that. Some of them are better than others from that perspective. They are doing single documents or single images at a time right now. So if you have because you can't do a PDF, you wouldn't have multiple pages. You just have a single image. And my understanding is it's available for world subscriptions and above. I've got an all access subscription right now, so I can't really test that. So just want to show you how to get to it. So if you go to memories and you open up your gallery, now this is, if you don't have an image that you want to transcribe, then you're going to have to upload that first. And I'm going to look for, I've done one just so that it would be already done for us. Here we go. So I picked this, this is a fill in the blank form that it's a marriage record. You see it's a little sketchy image from that perspective, but I just went over here and I said, hit the transcript button. So it shows up right here, transcript. And I had done this a couple days ago, and it sticks with the image. So as long as you leave the image in your gallery, the transcription is going to be there. So you can see here that you see it's beta. They're just rolling it out. So it's still a work in progress. And it's pretty closely transcribed everything. So it picked up this page 60, marriage record header, the state of Nebraska, Platte County, and then it skipped down here. So you have to take a look and compare side by side. And you can pull it open and make it a little, see, you can size this panel so it makes it easier to do the side by side comparison. And they're looking for feedback because this is a beta option. How accurate was the transcription? I haven't answered that question yet. And they're asking for feedback. So if you want to provide feedback, that's kind of an important thing. But I did notice that there's a search here. So in the transcription, I could do a search for, see, her last name is Tanner. So if I say Tanner, it doesn't show up. So that's kind of interesting. So this is, let's try his name. It's Limp. See, and it's not finding. See, I'm a little, you have to kind of play around with it. And it's the same with any of the other transcription tools, is they do the best they can with the tools that they have, and then you have to decide what you want to do with it. Now, one of the things that you can do is you can highlight this and do a copy. So I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to bring over, I'm going to open up a Word document and bring it over into this panel so you guys can see it. So here's my Word document. I've copied that transcription into the clipboard on my Windows machine, and I'm going to paste it right here into my Word document. So you can see that Word has now taken over and said, oh, this is grammatically wrong. That's the green underlines. They think the red underlines are spelling issues. But this would have saved me a whole bunch of time if I wanted to transcribe that document. Now, if you've got a letter or a journal and you've got those pages digitized, you could bring it over and add them to Ancestry, and then you'd get your transcription pretty cleanly, and then you just have to do the cleanup, compare it word for word to the original document, and make the editing that you want to do here in your own document. So pretty straightforward. It's kind of it's nice that, I don't know if you guys read the blog article, Ancestry is claiming to be the world's leading best handwriting transcription company. I think that what they do over at Family Search, if you want to compare to full text search, I don't know. They're both in the same space.
Nope.
So, any questions? Verlene asked in chat, does it let you edit it? It won't let me try that. Let's see. Frederick Lamp. So let's see if we can get Lewis changed to Lamp. No editing. Not within the transcription on Ancestry. Clearly I can do it when I copy it and paste it into Word. Or you can use Google Docs or whatever tool that you want to, you could paste it straight into your genealogy software if you want to do that and edit it there. So they're just asking for feedback here in how accurate is the transcription. Well, given the handwriting and the crazy poorness of this image, it looks like it did a pretty good job on the printed text. It's the handwriting stuff. So you kind of have to step back and say, okay, so the marriage.
Hey, Sherry.
Yeah.
It's Jennifer. Do you have you tried this either in one of the AI tools for comparison, and or have you tried it with a foreign language document?
I have not done either of those. I do know that Family Search, full text search has focused specifically on English, but they are wanting to roll out, it's like 5 or 6 more languages this year still. So for handwriting, foreign language, I just boggles my mind how they do that.
I know.
But I think that would be a great experiment, because then you could find out, is ChatGPT good? Is Claude better? There's just kind of a list of the AI tools that are being used by genealogy, and there's a Facebook page that's specific to that. And if you guys follow Randy Seaver, he's got a whole section of his blog now that is about his experimentation for genealogy with the AI tools. So you can take a peek at that.
Thank you.
No worries. Does anybody have some experience with transcription tools that would like to share? Or not?
I just did it once at genealogy library. Dennis was showing me, Dennis Allen was showing me how it works in GPT, and because I had a 4-page letter from an ancestor. Well, I'm not sure if they're an ancestor or not, but it was about 100 and I don't know how old it was, but to try to transcribe it myself would take forever. And so he was showing me, this is GPT would do that. So I just gave him a page, and he took a photo of it and uploaded it. I was amazed. it was just incredible. And I think we found out it was about 140 or 140 years old or something like that, back in the 1850s and 60s or something like that. I don't even know where I got it from.
Well, and if you can get the foreign language transcription, it's easier to use Google Translate if it's not handwriting. So, there's, it's a cascade of tools that we can use.
Well, and he was at the time using Chat GPT. He had well, I think he's since bought a subscription to it. He since told me that when it comes to transcribing, they've locked that down to where you actually have to have a paid subscription for it to do that part. Now we have Copilot, which is Microsoft's version, because it comes with their Microsoft 365, but I haven't had a chance to use it much at this point.
And that's kind of, the experiment is some of them are better at some things than other things, and so you just have to kind of play around and figure out what you like to use. Sometimes it's the tool, right? And then other times it's the results that you get. You'll suffer through the tool just to get what you want. Well,
and I'm one of those, I'll do anything free if I can.
Oh, absolutely. And that's kind of where Randy Seaver's at. So if you don't know about Randy, he has a blog. Let me I'll try to get it put in the chat, or if somebody subscribes to him. He has a free blog. It's just out there. He's one of the most prolific bloggers in genealogy space.
What's the name of the blog? Do you know?
Genealogy. I'm having a brain.
You've mentioned it to me before, so I may already.
So let me see.
Have it.
You guys can see let me get my blogs. These are all the blogs I follow. You guys don't give them this.
Holy cow.
It Genia Musings?
Yeah, it is.
There we go. Yeah, I think so. That sounds right.
Oh, wrong one. There's two. So this is genealogical. The other one is the correct one. Here we go. And he's been working for over a year just playing around. So you can see here, he says, I requested ChatGPT 4, Croc, Gemini, and Claude, free tools, to create a poem. And this is kind of what he's been playing around with, is poems and songs and pictures based on his, he provides a prompt. So he gives you step by step what he's done and what he gets back from all of them. You can see over here on the side that he's got, he's starting to put together a compendium of all the stuff that he's done. So here you go, Randy's AI and genealogy. So he's got a category for them. So he can give you, ask AI, things that he's tried, things that he's done, and then he's recorded exactly what he got back from each one and which ones he likes to use better than others, and gives you a lot of good tips. So, all right. Any other questions about the transcription tool that Ancestry is rolling out? It's still in beta, so I don't know if it's going to stick around. They've kind of done a big splash about it. I'm guessing that they saw the success that Family Search is having with full text search and probably wanted to get on the bandwagon. And they have done a lot of work in the background. They did the 1950 census with artificial intelligence, doing the handwriting transcription for all of those tables and charts that we have in the census. So it's all good stuff. All right. Any other questions about the transcription? Okay, cool. Well, let's go ahead and jump into what's new in the collections. So you guys know I liked from the home page, I like to use this little right panel here and open up this what's new and updated in the collections list as a separate tab. And it makes it easier for me to come back and forth. So and they do this update. Just a quick reminder, these tags are on for 90 days. So you notice this is the date that it got the tag. So if you come into this, or you can look, you can see these same tags in the card catalog search list. So just know that they're there. So let's take a look at the U.S. Mexican War pension applications, 1887 to 1926. And I'm going to do, I've got some porters that were in the service about that time. So I'm just going to do a quick search on porter. Now you'll notice over here, we'll go back and I'll show you that this is a browsable collection. It has the images. I've got this Sanford porter. He was discharged in Los Angeles, but he enlisted in Council Bluffs, Iowa. So to be fair, I don't know whether this is one of my porters. I don't have anybody named Sanford in my lineage at the moment. I always give that caveat because you just never know. But you can tell from this image here that this is a widow's application, right? So here's the details from this page. He was a male, he was a private, he died at 63. He got married in Utah. He was discharged in California. So you get a lot of information, and here's his spouse. Now, one of the things I wanted to show you is that if this is your person, here's page 1, and you'll notice the breadcrumb right here. He enlisted into the Mormon battalion in Iowa, and this whole file is Sanford Porter. Look down here at this film strip. It's 104 pages of everything to do with his application for the war. So you can see there's a little bit of an index report. There are letters and letters and letters about Virginia trying to get the money. And then there are letters about someone reporting her death back to the pension office and all of the things that go on with that. They even asked the sister that was taking care of her to send any uncashed checks back. So, and she was asking for money to cover burial expenses. So, but that's all of the information that's in this 104-page file. So it's just letter. They're not in any, they weren't imaged in any particular chronological order. So, Stacy, I'm not aware of Ancestry having a batch download at this time, so you'd have to do them one at a time. But let's take a quick peek and see what we can find here under tools. If I can say download, I haven't done this in a while, so it downloaded. It only gave me the option for that one particular page. They used to flip settings. Print. Let me see if I do print. If I do print, I can get the entire image. I can get the source data. So I get the citation, and I can do continue. And then it gives me an option. Do I want to save it as a PDF or do I want to save it? This says pages all, but this is indicating that it's going to do 2 pages. So I'm going to go ahead and save that and let's see what we get. Okay. And let's see what we got. Seems to still be downloading. Oh, well, I would have gotten 2 pages because I got the image and I asked for the source citation. So let me see if I can get this to open.
We're only seeing your Ancestry page if you wanted to show us the other thing.
Yeah, I'm trying to get it to open. It's being a little wonky. So that one I don't need. Close the lines. No, oh, it's still downloading. I'm gonna go ahead and move off of this page. There we go. So maybe that'll clean it up a little bit. I have Zoom controls that keep interfering with my access to my computer. But anyway, in this collection, if you've got Mexican War pensioners, you might be able to find a lot of good information about them, about their family. I'll have a busy icon here, a quick clicking on things. Tends to get a little anxious about that. Okay, there we go. So depending on if you're a purist, if you want to download the images, you have to do them one at a time. If you want to say print, you're going to be able to create a PDF. So here's the document, and then here's the citation. So that's the 2 pages that were saved on that particular thing. So the nice thing is you got this URL, so you could click and go right back to that page in the collection if you're logged into Ancestry. So that's kind of a nice piece that comes with their source citations. If you don't care for their citations, you've got all the information that you need to write the kind that you want yourself. So that's kind of what it looks like. All right. Let's take a peek at the next collection. Some things closed here. Let's see, I wanted to look at the New York Grand Street Boys Association. And part of the reason I wanted to look at this one is this is kind of relevant to our topic today. We're doing directories, membership lists, and those other kinds of collections that Ancestry has. So this is about the Grand Street Boys Association. And you notice from the collection name, it's New York, New York. So it's place specific. And if we scroll down to the bottom, as this continues to paint in here, you can see that this collection contains the documents of the Grand Street Boys Association from Manhattan. They represent a variety of ethnicities but were especially relevant for Jewish ancestry. Applications for membership information cards, the types of information that are on these records. So it gives you that peek into your family members' social life. Membership was expanded to include every religion, ethnicity, and social class, including women. And there are multiple Eastern European nationalities as well as some others in this particular collection. So just because it started out to provide Jewish specific social memberships, you can see here if you browse the collection, it's just organized by box. So they got boxes of stuff from the association. I'm going to do a search for my coffin. And I kind of got some interesting things here. I hope this one shows up. So you notice it's not coffin, it's coffina. And if we look at the record, you can see I have this guy was from Greece. And this is some of the information that you can search on. So if you had family living in New York City and you knew what their occupation was or what industry they worked in. So he was married, he was born in Greece. You get his address of where he was living when his membership started. And that occupation, he's listed as the owner, but he's the owner of what? And so as we scroll in here, you can see we even have his telephone number and the name of his firm. He was in real estate. So he was the owner of a real estate company. You can see he had a member that sponsored him or vouched for him. You had to pay your dues with the application, $20, and both of them signed it. So you've got a nice signature of his. But the other thing is the search option for this, because these are application memberships. I'm just going to go back here a couple pages. Is you could search for an industry or you could search for an occupation. So if we go back and you can see that, I'm going to take coffin out. And I'm going to go down here and I'm just in keywords, I'm just going to put in theater. Because, you know, that's something that New York is known for, is their theater space. So if your people were working in the theater, maybe they were a stagehand or maybe they were, you can see I have membership cards here. Let's just grab one and see what kind of different information we can get here. So you get, again, we have a birth date, we have a residence, we have a membership. This one is the treasurer of the City Center Theater. So now you get to see a little bit more of, you know, what were they involved in, membership card when he was proposed. I love that it's tight. So again, you have an address, you have a business address, you have phone numbers. So it makes it, you know, it adds some meat on the bone of the story of our ancestors. So you might want to come and play in this collection a little bit. So some cool stuff. And the last one that's new, I just want to take a quick peek at Carroll County, Indiana. And we're going to open in a new tab. I had family that came through Indiana. Again, you can see the types of titles that are in this collection. So we have both. I thought this was kind of an odd marriage and cemetery records. It must have been the way that was given to Ancestry. So you've got cemetery records with date ranges. You've got indexes to marriage records. You've got marriage license and certificate. This is just a real hodgepodge of records. So now here's marriage records by surnames. So you could jump in if you want. If you don't find it in the person search, you might find them in the, you know, page by page. So much easier than microfilm, you know, loading the film, reel of film. So you can see here that we have Russell Porter's got 2 records in Florida County. His relative is Opal. Let's take a quick peek here. So we have, looks like you notice we have a couple of different documents that got imaged for Russell. There's his spouse. Got a marriage date, a marriage place, her maiden name, always good to find. And so we have, here's Pickett, Pluckett, Popejoy, Porter. So this is the actual marriage certificate. And then some of them were apparently just filmed individually. Back side of something as we work our way through this. So here's Plunkett by itself. So great information in Carroll County, Indiana. If you have people in that space, always helps to take a peek. And then on the updated collections, I wanted to start with the South Carolina naturalization records. I'm always curious on how a naturalization collection that ends in 1991 gets updated. Sometimes they tell us. Ancestry, sometimes if you scroll to the bottom, they tell you what got updated. So here, the last update that was recorded was in 2022. They added more records. I would guess that this particular update was either they improved the index or they changed the way it was set up. Maybe they added another. You can see here that you can, based on the court, if you know where your family might have filed their naturalization papers, just remember they could file them in any court, anywhere. This was, I'm going to take a peek. I don't have family in South Carolina. We're just going to take a peek at Wilson here. Let's see if I can find the record that I had before. So you can see it gives you the record type, gives you a date. Some of them don't have dates, but let's look at John James Wilson. You know, nothing like having a super duper common name. And you notice that what we have is some sort of an index page. So let's take a quick peek at this. So this isn't, which would explain why the record type was blank, because we got this, we have this, looks like a ledger of some type. Let this paint here. So we have the naturalization petitions recommended to be granted for the page 2. This is the list consists of 4 sheets, and this is sheet 2 in 1953. You can see that at the same time, this was something that I didn't realize you could do at the same time as your naturalization, but some of these people changed their names. You notice this is what it says. Name of the, let's see if I get the header here. Name of the petitioner and change of name. So they were asking, you can see the bleed through from the papers on the other side, but Francis de Bono wanted to change his name to Frank. So here are some of those documentation. Really, they went from this to this. Okay. But you can see that they took this opportunity to take that European naming convention and pick a different name. So I thought that was really an interesting. Now, John James didn't do that, but I just wanted to show you this page that this could be the document, something like this could be the documentation for how you wanted, why your name spelling got changed or why your surname got changed. So I hadn't seen this kind of a list before, but it's clearly, let's go up to the top here. This is clearly part of, you know, Department of Justice, Immigration and Naturalization Service. This is a formal index. You can see the petition number, how many people were being recommended to be granted naturalization. But they have a column for them to change their names. So I hadn't seen that before. I thought that was interesting. Okay, let's take a quick look at the Vermont marriage records. See what other kind of story we can find. This is a really dangerous part of my presentation for you guys, because I get into these collections and just go down some rabbit hole going, oh, I wonder how that worked. I wonder why they did that. And these are relatively recent. I mean, you know, 20 years ago, but I'm going to go ahead and use my coffin because I have the coffins that were up in Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine area, New England. I'm just going to start here with Beverly. So she was married in Fairleigh, Orange, Vermont. Relatives, just first names. I find it curious that marriage records only ask how old are you? You know, are you legal age? They don't ask for a birth date. So everybody's about a birth year. But here's Beverly Coffin, female. Her dad's name is Coffin and her spouse is Gilpatrick. But let's look at the document. So this is the index that was collected. And there's a bit of interesting information here. So it's nice and typed. It's a, you know, we're talking about they had to do a premarital blood test. Here this is recorded in 67. And you notice this is her second marriage. She was divorced. So now there's a little bit of And here they have her father as Coffin, and they've typed in a correction. This should be Downing per Campton town clerk. So Coffin is her married name. Downing would have been her maiden name. And then here's her mom's maiden name. And they were from New Hampshire. And so were his family. His family was from New Hampshire. So they were both born in New Hampshire, but getting married in Vermont. So, and look at this, 25, divorced, marrying a 17-year-old. So, okay, I want to know what the story is going on there. But you can see that signature of the clerk. They were married by a clergyman. So, kind of a story there if this were my family. You want to dig in and figure it out. All right. And the last collection I want to take a peek at today is the Chinese, there's immigration exclusion case files. I didn't even know this was a thing. Now, to be fair, I don't have Chinese that married into my family, so I don't have a real need to look for these kinds of records. But you notice they're in case file order. And I think I just picked the first one. Now, I do have a name, so let's go with Long. See if we can find him. Long. I think this is our guy. Nope. Oh, I had an off one. So let's go back and see if I can find the record that I had. Number. Here we go. I've got the case number. So case number 10011. Oops, didn't like that. Still didn't like that. Wow. Can you realize I do some of this research like in the middle of the night and apparently didn't write down what I needed. So let's just grab the top of the case file. Oh, here we go. And there he is right there. So we have a case number. There's an AB. And it says referring to your, so this is Inspector General returned by a United States Commissioner referring to your letter of the 12th. They're wanting to have stay orders made in this case for the entry of orders of deportation as requested per your letter. And it turns out, as you read through this file, is Ah Fong is a part of a list of witnesses that the Justice Department is wanting to have against parties set opposite below. So these are people are witnesses that the Justice Department doesn't want them deported quite yet because they're still part of their case. So this makes for some interesting reading. And at the end of this, there is an interview. So you get all the story of, you know, what's going on with the case and why they need to be stayed, and they're going to be arraigned by the. So here's a handwritten note that got inserted into Ah Fong's file that says, case number, he is -B. This is, look at C the -A for the letter from concerning the procedural case dated and our reply. So rather than make a copy of it, they just put this note, said, look in this other file, which I thought was kind of fun. And here's another one, proceedings. And they're advising, you know, more information, all typed, nice and typed. Transmitted herewith are the transcripts of testimonies of 5 Chinese. And they came in through Mexico. And here's the interview. What's your name? Where were you born? Are you a laborer? Do you have papers showing your right to remain? I have no papers. I've been working in Mexico. When did he cross? Who brought you? I don't know. Was it Yoke and Nan? I don't know. No Chinese came with us. Who drove the wagon? Do you recognize this picture? No. Did a Mexican drive the wagon? Yes. Do you remember hearing it? It goes on and on and on. So he basically doesn't know who brought him into the United States. He was being brought over for labor. Anyway, this is my little rabbit hole. But anyway, this again is a case number for Ah Fong. There's 14 pages. If there was something about this, maybe your person is the, you know, this named inspector, maybe your family member was the stenographer, and this is insight into what they did for a living. So you could see there could be a possibility if you knew your family worked in immigration and naturalization. So anyways, any questions about the collections we've looked at today? So okay. Well, then we're going to go ahead and jump into today's topic. So
Gary,
yeah.
I had a question. Recently in fold 3, I found some relatives that now they're having Korean War era draft registrations. Have you seen any collections of like that in Ancestry?
Yes, Ancestry has just released some relatively recently, the Korean, I'm going to say, I think did we go over them last
Well,
time?
I have a fold 3 subscription, so I can get them that
Yeah.
way, but I wondered if they weren't in Ancestry too.
They most like, I believe I've seen an announcement that the Korean, and let's just.
I
do a
think
quick
they're
search
still in
here
the
in card
process of
catalog.
digitizing them. So there's certain states, but not all as of this moment.
Okay,
Yes.
so they're probably waiting to digitize everything before they release it, because fold
No,
3.
they're releasing them as they get
Oh, okay, because
Yeah, I
fold
found
3
my
has
father's
digital.
the other day.
yeah. So USPOW, there was a collection. So you can see here, it's the Alabama U.S. soldiers in the Korean War. That's a separate collection, but there was a Korean.
There's a Korean War era draft cards on your new updated list.
There
Yeah,
you go.
right, here's
That
one.
one. I wonder if that's it. Yeah.
Yep. So it says updated. And there's a comment there, and they'll continue to probably update as they release them, but the article I saw said it could take up to 2 years for them to complete the digitization and indexing of that collection.
Okay. Yeah, I found my dad. He graduated in high school 57. So he's in this collection. He might be in this collection here. He's definitely
So
in
you
the
can
full
see
three
here,
one.
this collection is partially complete. Digitization is ongoing and future updates are planned. But if you scroll down here, you can see the collection currently has records processed for the following states. So Iowa, the Midwest is in here, depending
Yep.
on where your dad would have registered.
Iowa, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, my dad graduated in 56, so
And
he was
so, you know,
17.
it's definitely worth taking a peek.
Hmm.
Well, we'll just take a. We'll see what we can find. There's 10. And most of them are from Iowa, Stephen.
Yeah, the first one's my dad.
Well, there you go.
And I know most of the rest of them.
I just found my dad.
That's always fun when you find your dad.
Yeah.
And you can see this original image is on fold 3. So if you
Yeah.
want the image, you have to have a subscription over there, but it will give us the
So
information.
eventually they might bring them into, okay, get the index information.
Yeah, you get all the index information, where he enlisted. He was apparently working at Parsons College.
Attending Parsons College.
And he has a scar. Did you know that?
Yeah, I was asking my
You
wife, I
probably-
said, you remember Dad having a scar? I don't remember that scar, but he's passed away now,
Yeah.
so I can't check it.
And is Henry his dad?
Yep, Henry's his dad.
So there you go. Occupation student. There you go. So yes, he's in the collection.
Oh, but it looks like you can click. Well, I bet it.
Well, yeah. So if I click on this, it's going
it's
to
going to try to
to
take you to full 3, isn't it?
which, if you have a subscription,
Yeah, there you go.
I thought you had all access pass, Sherry.
well, I just haven't been logged into fold. You have to go in through your Ancestry account here. Ancestry. I do have it. So there's page 1. And there's the back side with his signature.
Yeah.
And the registrar might be family. I found that to be the case on some of them. You know, these are small towns. County clerks. So there you go. And the next one is James. So they're apparently in alphabetical order. So you could grab your whole family.
Yeah, I looked at quite a few of these. On full, here on full 3.
But the nice thing is you can save it to your ancestry tree and get all of that good stuff
Mhm,
going on.
yeah.
All right. Great question though. All right. Let's start today with, we're going to do directories, and I remember what I called it. In the handout, there's a list of stuff that's going on. We're going to go to the card catalog. We've kind of worked our way through all of these upper level categories. So we're going to start at the card catalog. And we're going to go down here to directories and member lists. And in the handout, I included part of the obituary for Ted Lessem. Some of you might remember Ted. He was a huge supporter of IGS. I knew him, I met him first through the Insurance Association. He was a insurance agent, was my insurance agent for years. But his obituary lists all of the organizations that he contributed to or was a member of. And think about how that impacts your ancestor's story, how you find them in the community where they lived, on the things that were important to them or the things they participated in, how they gave back to their community to help fill in that story. And so, we think about it even on a personal level. I've belonged to a lot of professional organizations over my career. My name will show up in lots of interesting, weird places because I was in a who's who, and I was a member of several associations. So where were your ancestors members of, and what were they a part of? So that's what we're taking a look at today. So this is the subcategories. We're going to walk through these today just to get you a look and feel. But just remember that once you get into these subcategories within the card catalog, there's this option to search the category. So you don't have to go into all of the records, but you can drop down in and search just for the category. And just to we're going to do a reminder here of the filtering process. We filtered from the card catalog main list into this subcategory. You can then further filter it by location or by date or. Ancestry's filtering says, I can look at all of the Australian records and I only want to look at the ones for the 1900s. So you can easily slice and dice those. And as you can see here, North America, of course, US is the big gorilla in the room there. Because if I go into North America, you can see it breaks it down. There is a collection from Barbados. If your family is from Barbados or Panama, maybe you want to take a peek at those rather than dropping into the 1,000+ that are in the United States. So just a kind of a quick walkthrough of how that filtering system works. So we're going to walk our way through these subcategories here. I'm just going to click on church records. We're going to open that one in a new tab. And again, as you go down, you can see even though the new tab thing doesn't really work with the subcategory, so I open the tab and then I can click on it. And now you can see that I have the option, I'm going to close that filter there, and just click the X to close that location filter. I can now search at just this subcategory level, so I don't have to search at the whole collection catalog level. I can search just at this one, or I can say I want just USA. And so now I have subcategory filter option by state. If you knew where your ancestor lived and so you want to look at state specific collections, unfortunately Iowa's always below the fold, so to say. But of all of the 1960 collections for US, Iowa is included in 40 of those. But you can see that at the upper level, at the US level, these are congregational records, these are church records and church history. So these are going to give you those options where you can take a look at where your family might have been included in a membership or a donation list or whatever would have been appropriate. Just remember that if you search by title, the word you put in here has to be exactly in the title of the collection. Ancestry's been known to change the names of the collection sometimes. So, just be that. I tend to have more luck with using keywords. One of the things that you can do, I'm going to use it from the, is you can narrow it down and say, how many of the collections have family histories or family records? Well, it took some out, but you can see that here's published Quaker family histories. Isn't necessarily church specific, but it could be Quaker family stories, that kind of thing. So if we take a quick peek at that one, I'm going to go ahead and open that up in a new tab. I do have Quaker family. And you can see here what's in this collection. This looks like it's published book. Here's looks like the table of contents. Here's a history of Dr. Stevenson. Here's the Taylor family of Monmouth. Here's the reminiscent record of Joel and Caroline Ward or Cadbury. So you can see that there are family names on some of these records. You've got some that are combinations, so the annuals of the early friends. But you'll notice no search. So this is a collection of published records, and you're going to have to just decide. I'm going to go ahead and just pick. You can see East Anglican Bank. I'm just going to click Early Friends Volume 1 and see what we get. So we get a cover. This particular book has 474 pages. I'm going to turn on the film strip here at the bottom because that's going to let me get past the some introductory material. Here's the title page. Series of botanical sketches by Francine Budge. These are reprinted from the Friends Quarterly Examiner. So I can just now jump here. I can jump straight to the table of contents. And I could look through the table of contents to see if I have any family names that are being included here. So this is, you know, as opposed to for those of us that have done the hard work of going to the library or going to an archive and pulling the book off and opening up the index or open up the table of contents. I'm going to go ahead and jump to the back of the book. Because there's usually, we'll see if it's indexed. It does not appear to be indexed. So that table of contents is going to be your best option. And I'll know that volume 2 probably is not indexed either. So some of these in these collections aren't indexed. They're not searchable. So even if we had not picked families from the search option here and went into the family records here, if I had done a search, anything that's in those books would not have been found because those books aren't indexed. So just know you might want to dig into the collections a little deeper, take a peek at what's there. I can tell you this particular book, I'm going to go ahead and close that tab there. I'm going into the Encyclopedia of American Quaker Genealogy. That one is indexed and it is searchable if I remember correctly. And these are big collections with lots of records in them. And so it's going to be, you know, we know that a lot of these church records predate the civil registration for our vital record information. Births, marriages, deaths can be found in the church records. You can see it's still painting. You can browse by the collection, but this one is searchable. So I can scroll down here. It tells me what I'm likely to find. This is a 6-volume record. Gives you some information about a monthly meeting, the kinds of things that go on at monthly meetings. A reminder that Quaker dates are different than the Church of England. They were following a different timing. So if you find your Quaker family and they say it was the 23rd of the 3rd month, that's not March. I believe that's August, but let me take a quick peek. They do have it written down here. First, 2nd month, 3rd month are the names. That's very much searchable. So you can, I have a chart that I keep and maintain because I have run into that where I've put the wrong date in my genealogy because the Quaker record said it was the, you know, 1st day of the 7th month, and I always assumed it was July, and it's not July. So all the kinds of fun things there. So church histories and church records are kind of a combination of notes that someone at the church made or books someone made of the history of that organization. You can see this. I'm back at the main category now, directories and member lists. And any questions about church records and histories. Take a deep breath if you step into this category, because you may find that, oh, that collection is an index and I'm going to have to find a table of contents. I'm going to have to find an index to find my people, to find if my people were there. Now, some of these are identified by county and some of them are done by town. It just depends on who wrote a book or who kept the records particularly on the church records. So let's take a peek down through the next category, city and area directories. Now, I'm guessing we've all spent some time in city directories. They can be a wealth of information on what was your ancestor's address, were they married, what was their spouse's name, where did they work, where did their spouse work, who were their neighbors. You can search for by address and find out who their neighbors were in some of these city directories. So this is great information. They're compiled. A lot of them were done every year. Some of them were done every less often than that. But you can see in this collection that it's not just city directories. We've got New Hampshire prison records. Don't ask me why it's in cities and area directories. But you can see that various societies. So this is a list of society information. Postmaster indexes. Did you have an ancestor that was a postmaster? I had one. I didn't know she was a postmistress, but she showed up in one of my searches. City directories, public record indexes in this. Here's the Frankleton genealogy. I can't explain why some of these collections are in this category, but we know from other times that we've looked at some of the categories Ancestry has that some of these collections end up in multiple categories, and so they show up where they show up. Black, blue book. So, they kind of take, I'm just going to grab one that city directories. Let's look at this one here. And I didn't open it in a new tab, so to get a sense of what's here, this is 1822 to 1995. So remember, pre-1850 censuses didn't list everybody. So city directories may be a look into what was going on and who was living at the house and some of those kinds of things. So you can see this browse will give you a sense of how this particular collection is organized. Now I can see I have records for Iowa, so I'm in good shape. But if I want to say, do I have a Des Moines or Polk County? I can do Iowa. I can look for Des Moines, Grinnell. These are all by cities. You can see there's a various list. These are all searchable, but let's just say Des Moines. I just want to know if the book I'm looking for is here. So let's say I want to see these are all chronological. This is a pretty complete collection as I scroll down through here. So I'm missing 48. So if I knew my family was in Des Moines in 1948, they don't have the city directory for 1948. So I could search, but I'm not going to necessarily find them. Okay. But just for giggles and grins, I'm going to go ahead and search for Snodgrass. I probably should have said Iowa, because I'm getting the whole United States. So 65,000 is quite a bit. So let's edit my search. And I'm going to say lived in Des Moines, Polk County, Iowa. Now I'm going to search again. I'm going to narrow it down significantly. So there we go. Now it still says there's 65,000. But I'm now down to just a few that I would have to look for. And you can see what the record looks like. They've imaged the directory double pages. I don't know if you guys have ever looked at a directory book, but they're giant and they're fat and they're heavy. So this is much, much better. And the other thing that's kind of fun is you can see for the year that you're looking at what the advertising was going on. So these are alphabetical. Smothers, no, Snodgrass. So you can see here it's highlighted Snodgrass, Aaron, and they're in alphabetical order down to Schnurberger. So I can look here really quick. I get Frederick, wife Eva. He's a watchman in West Des Moines Sand Company and he was living on 7th Street in West Des Moines. So some of these, particularly for a good-sized town, you're going to have to look at the beginning of the directory to figure out what do all the little abbreviations mean. Those are always published at the beginning of these books so that you can figure out what are the abbreviations, not only for the occupations, but for the towns that are included, because it tends to be Des Moines. And if I want to go back to Des Moines, you could go back to the beginning of the directory. Oh, sorry, that's not what I wanted to do. Let's say I go back to page 5. So you can see here, there's a listing of all the advertisers. So maybe one of these advertisers is where your ancestor worked. I'll go back another page. Here's the general index. And it tells me that abbreviations are on page 20. So I'm going to go to page 24. Okay, that was not what I wanted. I needed 12. I'm still not at the abbreviations page. I'm in the A's though. So here we go. I can see here in my film strip, there's an abbreviations page. There we go. I can see here all the abbreviations. So I've got all the employment stuff you could probably guess if you were, given names. They abbreviated the given names. Jump over this page here. They're saying, hey, if you're interested, you could buy a city directory for these other population of the United States based on the 1940 census. So you can see. Des Moines was not a very big town then. All right, any questions about city or area directories? I think we've probably all used them. Has anybody found anything really interesting in a city directory? Okay. The next one in the list, so I'm going to X out of North America, and I'm going to X out of the filter for city directories. We're going to go to the next category, which is school lists and yearbooks. And we know Ancestry has done a great job of getting a lot of yearbooks in here. Our families have, I found my mom and I found my dad and all the clubs they belonged to in high school. I didn't realize my dad would, I knew my dad played an instrument. I didn't realize he was in band and choir and glee club and all those things that you can figure out. So again, once you've filtered, you can search just that subcategory if you want to. So I'm just going to go ahead and say, let's go ahead and search for that. And I'm going to be really specific here because I'm going to search for my dad. And Ancestry helps us with that, because they go and look at your tree and they say, hey, is this the person that you want? There he is right there. and they fill in everything that I need. So now I don't have to fill anything else in. They take it from my tree and they fill in all the details. And so I should get a narrowed search results that's just for my dad. But we'll see what we get. And here we go. So we've got a yearbook for 1949. Looks like the same picture. It's in my hints. Here's another one. This is his first cousin. Cousin, not in Georgia. So Conrad, Iowa. This was here. Here's my dad's band picture. So you can see there's a lot of good information here. You just have to pick and make sure you get the right people. And I find it disturbing that I've selected my dad, but he's intermixed. And you can see I have a little hint here that this is apparently a new picture because I've worked through all the hints on my dad and they've apparently opened up another, either it's a different yearbook or they've indexed a different set of images from a different yearbook. So kind of fun. These look suspiciously the same. So we won't take a peek at them. But you can get those, your ancestor or your families. What did they look like as a young person? What were their interests and hobbies? Did they continue that into their adulthood? So school lists and yearbooks is not, we think of it as being school yearbooks, but you'll notice here in this filter right here, school yearbooks and World War II Cadet Nursing Corps card files. So if you had an ancestor that was a cadet nurse in World War II, they might be in that record. There are also collections here that are also for colleges and universities and lots of other school education requirements, including the military schools and all of that kind of thing. So there's just a lot of neat information that you can find that fills in some of those gaps in our knowledge and history of our ancestor. And, you know, I knew about my mom and dad's. I didn't think about my grandma's high school graduation picture or my grandfather's high school or their parents. You know, this was a history, a tradition that went along way deeper than the 50s or the 60s, right? So that's kind of a fun thing that you can find in these lists. And you'll notice some of them are, if they have that web colon, these are not housed on Ancestry, they're housed on a third party. But if you have somebody that was a part of the Youth Authority Index in California, you might want to look at that. There's California Historical Student Database, not a traditional yearbook, but if your people were in California, you might want to take a peek at that. So, okay. The next category is one that I think is really fascinating. Let me do this. Society and employment records. Remember, if you look through Ted Lessum's list, he had a lot of society and employment directories related to his occupation. He was in insurance and he was in genealogy. And some of those show up. If they work here, you can see the UK postal establishment. Let's get to the US just to make things a little easier. Did your family have someone that worked at Westinghouse? That was a big employer for a long time. Look at here. It's the one we looked at as under the new collection. The Grand Street Boys Association is in this category. Historical notaries. Was your ancestor a notary? Here's just Boston residents. Were they an attorney or a blacksmith? Or you can just see that there's a lot in this particular category. Sons of Norway, records for hospital attendants, all of those things that, you know, our ancestor may have worked at. I have quite a bit of my cousins and aunts and uncles that worked for the railroad. So I might want to do a search in this category just to see if I can find some of those railroad records, because they wrote down enough stuff about the same as the military. you know, they were absent from work, or they skipped work, or they were injured, or, you know, all of those things that you find for that happens at work. Mining accidents, railroad, Wisconsin employment, technical records and personnel. Related to this is also the baseball questionnaire. So if you had a family member that played professional baseball or wanted to play professional baseball, the questionnaires are here. Some of them have pictures on them, tells you where they were from. Now think about what a baseball team is made up of. A lot of them are immigrants. So if you had family that were Mexican or Puerto Rican or the Caribbean that came and played baseball, they might have a questionnaire in that category, in this collection here for the baseball collection. So just think about where you might have been. We sent a lot of people to work on the Panama Canal. So the Panama Canal Zone, those employment records, you might have found that you had family that they just worked on heavy equipment, or maybe they were a mechanic and they were in somewhere in somebody's list of employees. So just think about it. So you can use the keyword search here to narrow it down by industry or by society. So if you wanted to, say, how many Sons of Norway collections are there? There's the one. If you wanted to look up farms and farming and agriculture, you can see farmers' directories came up as well. A lot of our ancestors might have been Farm Bureau members. I don't know how far back they kept the Farm Bureau directories or if those are made public, but you can see here, Illinois had farmer directories. Kansas had farmer directories. Minnesota, Midwest. Farm Journal Illustrated directory, membership directory. So there's a lot of things that you can find in these collections that you can find them. You won't find them in a general search on Ancestry because these collections are so specific. They're not part of the main search algorithm. You're going to have to dig down into these subcategories to find potentially where your family shows up. But they are tagged by location. So if you're in a state or an area where your family might be easy to find, take a stab. Take a look. And remember, you could start with a search. If I clear my filters here, I can start with a search in the main directories and member list category. And if I'm not finding something, I might want to drill down into these subcategories as we go through those. Okay, so I need to close out that one. I'm going to go back in here. The telephone directories aren't here anymore. Did they move them? Oh, that's because I still have that filter on there. Search. So here we go. Directories and main lists. Telephone directories. Just remember to clear your filters. You don't get what you want. So telephone directories. We know we haven't all had telephones for forever and ever, right? But they can help you identify a place. They can help you identify, did your family have a telephone? The biggest category of telephone directories is at the Library of Congress. So Ancestry doesn't have them. They're only part of whatever they've been given access to or someone has donated to Ancestry. So you can kind of see how many there are. I'm just going to do a quick expand here and see. There are 4 that list Iowa. And you notice they're all the U.S. public record. So Iowa's listed on those if you want to try to find your family. Did they have a phone number? The New York collection that we looked at earlier had phone numbers on them. So that was kind of an interesting piece of information that you can collect about your family. They had phone numbers. But this is a way to sneak into people who are still living. So if you've lost track of your family or you're down that cousin, you know, second or third cousin, you don't have a direct connection. I always start on Facebook, but you know, you could find them potentially in a phone directory. And given today's situation with cell phones and landlines becoming less and less common, you may not find a valid phone number, but you at least know they had a phone at that period of time in that location. So this is kind of a fun category if you want to take a peek at all the stuff that your family might have been a member of. It's just kind of fun to think about what else were their hobbies. What did they find? Has anybody found something interesting in this kind of a collection? It's not draft cards, Stephen, but you know, it's other stuff. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing. All right. Did you get some ideas of other collections you might want to go search for?
I had some farmers in Stevenson County, Illinois. It seemed there's a collection for them. I may have to check that out. 1917, they would have been there.
Yeah. Well, and the challenge is always you don't know what the collection is to get into it. Is it just people that were living on a farm, or were they landowners? You know, but it might give you that hint to find another piece of information. I always tend to discount farmers as an occupation, and yet look how through the history of the United States, most of our people were farmers. You know, they weren't professionals, unless they were some kind of skilled labor. All right. Any other questions about ancestry in general, or something that we can try to answer? Okay. Well, I appreciate you guys showing up today. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.